Hey everybody, and welcome to the It Shouldn't Happen to Us podcast, where your wannabe sales gurus come at you from the heart of Miami with tales of woe from the field. This is Carlos and Sophia, and you know, just like you guys, we're building sales and we're building sales teams, and we get the struggle. And as gurus, it shouldn't happen to us, but it seems to.
Hey everyone, welcome to It Shouldn't Happen to Us, where your wannabe sales gurus come at you live from the heart of Miami with tales of woe from the field. This is Carlos.
And this is Sophia, and we are thrilled to have you with us today for 20, 30 minutes or so.
What are we talking about today, Carlos?
So, you know, I thought it was interesting. We should reflect for our listeners that you and I spend an awful lot of time. We have been spending an awful lot of time talking about the sales team that we're building, and I think it might resonate with a lot of people who themselves are out there selling, but also either building a sales team, have built and are trying to rebuild a sales team. Or maybe they've just got an aspiration that one day it doesn't have to be them that's knocking on every door in town. And so we've been spending an inordinate amount of time, you and I, talking about what the right profile is for a prospector that we're recruiting and for an outside sales lead that we're recruiting. And we've been talking about, you know, what the right person looks like, what tools we're going to use. We've been eating some of our own processes in terms of putting in a hiring funnel, onboarding plans. Actually, let's not overstate it. We're planning to put in we're eating our own processes. We've been all the stuff we've been for years teaching clients of ours to do. We've decided to actually do ourselves in terms of search models, the assessments we're gonna use, and the onboarding plan. Haven't we been? We must speak about that almost every day, right, Soph?
Every single day.
And so I think it would be cool to talk about that, because I honestly think a lot of people out there are either recruiting at the moment, building a sales team at the moment, or lamenting as to failed attempts in the past to do that, especially if they own a business, or if they're a sales leader in a business, or if the business is growing. You know, let's talk about how challenging that can be, and some of the things that we're doing, which we've been teaching clients to do for years, and we're speaking about this every day. And you know, we're speaking about how to recruit, and then importantly, and that's what I think might be interesting for today is, what tools are we going to put in that toolbox for them as part of their onboarding, but really to try and trying to iron out some of the wrinkles in a new recruit's sales process, because it ain't easy, right? It ain't easy. It isn't easy for a new. It's not easy for a seasoned guy or gal. But it's also not easy for a new recruit. So let's take it role by role. Let's start with the prospector. What do you think we should be putting in that toolbox, Sophia?
Well, this is so good because last time we were together, we spoke about the actual, the assessment process and hiring. And today, I think it's cool. We're going to have a conversation about, well, now you've hired someone who looks great on paper. How do you make sure you keep them? And what we really are talking about is that onboarding folder, not just a sheet, not just a brain dump email, but some folder somewhere that lives with many subfolders within it that's going to help that not first 90 days go seamlessly. So for the prospector, I imagine.
Well, actually, just let's take a moment.
Okay.
Because the theme of our podcast is it shouldn't happen to us, and yet it seems to, right? So why don't you describe for our viewers and listeners, why don't you describe, because you talked about the brain dump sheet, right? And I know what you were talking about, but they don't know what you're talking about. So why don't you describe how we have typically to date handled this onboarding? What did it look like? Like, what did you get when you were onboarded? And this is where I'm going to be very vulnerable to the world. This is not what to do. This is what not to do, right? What did you get when you were onboarded into the team?
So when I was onboarded into the team, it took about 2 weeks to get my actual email, my actual company email. And I was given, like a luxury. And then I had about like a 7-page Word document that, you know, it went week 1, week 2, and I think it went all the way up till about week 14. And there was a bunch of videos for me to watch on there. What else was on there? That was pretty much it. There's a lot of videos. Maybe get together with so-and-so leader to come up with a commission structure. Get together with so-and-so to figure out your landing page. Get together with so-and-so to get a headshot taken. But, I felt like it was a lot of watching videos, and as a salesperson, I wanted to hit the ground running. I was ready to make calls. I wanted to already start having a pipeline. I wanted to be able to participate in the pipeline reviews. So the brain dump left me twiddling my fingers at my desk quite a bit in those first 2 weeks at least.
Actually, I have to be honest. I'm actually quite impressed with ourselves that we even gave you that much. A list of 7 pages of videos to watch with links of videos to watch is actually a damn sight better than
there's
a lot
no
of the
links.
Oh, was there no links? Was there just find this video on our
find this video? Okay. And a lot of the titles of the videos were wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'd be like, what the is it the search engine?
Yeah, you had to get your decoder ring out, right? Your Captain Crunch decoder ring out and figure out what the real title should have been, and then find the video. But I tell you what, even 7 pages of hints as to what videos to watch, subject to decoder ring activity, even that is better than many people get in terms of an onboarder. So I'm actually quite impressed. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nothing to be impressed about. But I'm quite pleased that we even gave you that. And I think 2 weeks to get your email address. Now, obviously, that's 2 weeks too late. In fact, it's probably 3 weeks too late. But again, I've seen worse. Have you not seen worse? I've seen clients way worse. No computer. Oh, yeah. Nobody knew they were turning up when a new person turns up. It's like, who's this guy? I've seen horror stories. So we probably did it 1 to 10. I was expecting that we did it maybe if 10 is the best onboarding and toolbox that anyone could ever get, and 1 is, or 0 is like, who are you? I would expect us to be a 2. You described a 3 on that scale. So I'm actually, it isn't as bad as I thought. Now, what we want to create is 10. Right, because it's such an important part of the journey, and this ability to attract top talent and then to ramp up top talent fast to be productive. That is where so much of the value in the hiring process, in scaling, that is where so much of the value lies. So, very curious. What do you think a 10 looks like? What are we creating now? How are we fixing this?
Well, I imagine I want to say that a 10 would look like there is a portal with videos on how to do every freaking thing. But let's be real, who really wants that? At some point you do want some real FaceTime with your manager. Right, so I imagine it's going to be a hybrid between some folder where there's videos on like, hey, here's how you can tootle around this portal where you'll find videos and audiobooks and and whatever, on resources. And then you might want to have a video on, hey, this is how we construct a 30-second commercial. But I imagine, for example, a 30-second commercial or elevator pitch, some people might call it, you're probably going to want to run that with your leader too, right? So I think a 10 looks like a beautiful hybrid between a video where you don't have to, ping your manager for every little thing, but also a caring leader who wants to, invest, word is invest, that time with you in those first 90 days especially. Right? Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I do. And I also think that it needs to get in the context of the sales, the whole sort of sales path, the whole... I think it needs to be presented not in sort of tabular form, but more as parts of a process. So thinking about our prospector, for example, I'm going to suggest that, it starts with, it actually starts with where are you going to find leads, contacts, right? Where internally and externally you're going to find contacts. So that's the first step. Find people to call, people to email, people to, how do I get this contact details? Who's an ideal client profile? I think there's a bunch of stuff around that. There's a bunch of stuff with logins for our, all our accounts, for all our crazy tech stack that helps us find prospects and find leads. So there's all our internal systems for where, how inbound leads are funneled in and what qualifies and disqualifies and what ideal client profiles look like. And so there's all that piece, so that at least they can be self-sufficient in terms of generating to generate the bullets to shoot. Then there's the next phase, which is, okay, what are the various activities you're going to do with each of these suspects? So you're going to be doing, combos involving LinkedIn activities, telephone activities, email activities, voicemail activities, video,
some scripts,
video,
scripts in there, how to playbook, how to overcome objection, person,
Well, that's further down. Let's actually keep it to the, further down. The first step, once you've got those leads, it's, hey, how do we construct our combos? How do we construct our jabs? What does, let's give some templates, some email templates. And you've got them. I've seen your email templates. They're spectacularly good. I've got templates. LinkedIn, when you comment on someone's posts on LinkedIn or you comment on someone's Twitter post, you do the social piece, you do the social selling. Why does that need to be created every time? Why not just give somebody 20 suggested comments to a LinkedIn post and 20, because we've done it, we've done it so many times, 20 suggestive Twitter comments, 20 suggested Facebook comments to a post, so you can start engaging and interacting, building some trust. It doesn't have to be created fresh every single time. It doesn't have to be such an exact science. As long as there's a human driving it. Now, what I don't believe is you can take the human being out of it. Human being's got to drive it. Human being can process the data, can orient themselves to the situation. They've got an inkling as to what's appropriate, what's not. So there has to be a human being driving the machine. But once you're over that, let's give some standard templates so that no one's got to create all the time. Don't you find how much time is?
I mean, that's what I had to do.
Energy I put in. Yeah, that's what you had to do, right? Because
that's what I had to do, and I think it's. I think it made it put me in snail mode with regards to building that book of business. Like, it was going to happen, but it was going to happen, slow.
But plus, it probably put you in a position where you needed to seek permission for everything, right? Hey, I'm thinking of sending this. What do you think, Carlos? What do you think, Antonio? And that's the point. For crying out loud, so send a bloody email, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if it's on the list of templates and all you've done is tinker a little with the template, I think that gives a lot of permission as well for somebody for talent to express itself. I think that's important. I think the other important part of that is, and again, you're right then. Now we're into the world of 30-second commercial, elevator scripts, probably by industry, but certainly in generality, 4 or 5 options. Here it is written. Here's a video of me doing it, Carlos. Here's a video of Sophia doing it. Here's a video of another guy doing it, so that we've got some options, and then they can be ready to role play. You know, once you're in the world of one human being communicating, talking to another human being, now we're in the world of practice. But, we need to give them something to practice. And you've got, what is the...
I got something kind of odd.
Yeah.
What do you think in that first folder, in that first week, those first videos, what do you think about adding something about mindset in there? Maybe adding a video about
not just a video. I've got my beliefs, my mindset triggers. So 100% when you're about to make some dials, here's your mindset. Here are power mindsets.
Right? How different is that?
I am statements. Wow, that's powerful when we do that. You're about to go to a networking event. Here's your power mindsets. And we've got these lists. I've got 1,000 mindsets, for every situation. Maybe not 1,000 for every situation, but I bet it's 1,000 in total of power belief sets. And when I say power, that doesn't mean aggressive. Before the world goes moves on its axis. It doesn't mean aggressive. It means in control. It means coming from an internal power, delivering value consistently. We're coming from that position. Well, it all starts with beliefs and mindsets. So you're exactly right. I think in this thing that we're creating, this path with the content underneath with templates and videos and scripts, right at the top of that list is your beliefs in this part of the process. What's your beliefs when you're creating a target list? What's your beliefs when you're when you're sending emails? What's your beliefs when you're sending? This is powerful.
What's your beliefs when you're doing your pipeline? When you're sending something into someone's pipeline, is it time to push it to a no, close the deal, close the file?
Your beliefs for that. Because, if you're operating from a core set of beliefs, guess what? Even though the script is a useful crutch, you don't need the script. If you're operating from beliefs, the script is only a help. It isn't a handcuff, right? It's there to lift you rather than anchor you. And so that's when you've cracked it, when you're operating from a core set of internal beliefs. So you are exactly right. Every step of that prospecting process, and then we're going to do the same for the sales process as well. But every step of that prospecting process is fueled, driven by that belief set.
Carlos, I want to share with you that in my past life, when I sold advertising, this is kind of a weird tangent.
The dark days.
This is a little bit of like a tangent, but it's totally related. When I was selling advertising, we had, within the company I was at, we had this really cool subscription to this website called AdMall. And it was like where all advertisers got their data about industries. And it had loads of research. And I love nerding out on a little research. And it would actually tell you what times of day were best for calling contractors versus manufacturers versus IT companies, which imagine if in that onboarding for a prospector, like an appointment setter, if in some people's worlds, imagine if we could even have something within that folder of like, hey.
Now there's a price and a payoff, right? The payoff is super efficiency. I get it. The price, though, and I'm not sure the payoff's worth the price. The price of that kind of insight is, first of all, how accurate really is it? I'm never convinced. And then, you might find yourself where you're actually cornering somebody into a belief set that this is a bad time to pick up the phone. We both
There's
know
never a great time. There's never a great time to pick up the phone to call a complete stranger.
Oh, I don't know. I'm that sales manager guy who says, that's great. I love cold calling. I'm one of those guys.
Right. You are that guy. The truth is, every time is a great time, right? And
there's no bad time. The mindset should be, I think that by even opening that door, what you're communicating is that there are good times and bad times, and that means there's bad times. And I think that fuels a belief set that what I'm doing is dodgy, difficult.
Well, but
I think there's a mindset that says what I'm doing here is cool. It's super cool to introduce yourself to new people and find out if there's a way to help somebody. That is like the coolest thing you can do. If that's the mindset, hey, you wouldn't be able to pry the phone out of the hand. So my point there is does it, when you tell somebody there's a good time of the day to call, does that open the door to there's a bad time of the day to call, and is that unhelpful? And I think it might be, but what's your view?
It could be. It could be. I think it's a balance, right? Like, if you know that contractors are up at 6 a.m, then maybe you want to call them early in the morning. But I think it could be helpful if you're thinking about it, like when to call which industry. Not if you're going to use it for creative avoidance. So what we mean about creative avoidance is looking for reasons not to make prospecting dials. But I imagine if this role is one of an appointment setter, and that's actually all they're doing, then they're going to be making calls and emails and LinkedIn touches all day anyways. So if they could figure out, or maybe the contractor isn't on LinkedIn as much as the realtor is, then who knows? Effective and efficient is what I'm thinking.
I think you're right. You've got to match your bait to the fish you're trying to hook, right? And I think there's a danger in thinking that everything's a cold call, everything's a dial. Right. Yeah, dials are important. And all those people that say the dialing is dead, I just disagree 100%. It is still an important feature in, depending on your industry, of course, depending on what you're selling. But for most people, having solid dialing activity as part of appointment setting, I think that's a solid strategy. Yep. But it needs to be mixed with fabulous social selling skills, fabulous networking skills, fabulous social networking skills, so virtual networking skills, amazing LinkedIn prospecting, having a referral system down pat to expand on not only on existing clients but also regain clients. And where's the regain system? The the retargeting. Not just regaining or recapturing, but also retargeting. I mean, this is the beauty of having one person, one role, one microcosm of activity that's designed with one object in mind, an appointment. Not just an appointment, but a high-quality appointment. A high-quality appointment means somebody knows why they're turning up to something with a high, the show-up rate is high, the level of engagement is high at the event.
Like, talking about this role, don't you kind of feel compelled about what a day in the life of an appointment setter must be like? Like, if that is all you had to do, 8 hours a day, I think I'd get pretty good at it, right? Like, give me 2 months of just, right? If that's all I'm doing, if all I'm doing is just, I think you'll learn things pretty quick.
And the interesting thing about that is it creates, that role is typically associated with a high failure rate. And when I say high failure rate, right, in 1 week you're trying to attack 100 prospects. In fact, most people who get this wrong are trying to do 100 a day, and that's crazy. So 100, it's 100 a day, but it's 100 a day repeatedly. So essentially it's 100 a week or 100 every 2 weeks. Is the right model, certainly for our business. And it's different for different businesses. Mm-hmm. And it's high failure rate, yes, for sure, because out of 100, you're going to get 10 if you do it well. And there are those people listening to this now that are going, wow, I wish I could get 10 out of 100. I promise you, if you do it well, I think you can get 10 out of 100. So when you think 10 out of 100, wow, that's a 90% failure rate. I actually think like you think. As long as you know that what you're actually after is 10, I think you're at 100% success rate, not a 90% failure rate. The no's are the stairways to the yeses, right? It isn't rejection rich. It's success rich. It's and you're right. How cool to close your week out and say, I got 10 appointments this week. And by the way, how valuable is 10 appointments? You run the math in most businesses on 10 appointments, bonkers value delivery on 10 appointments. Unless you're selling, car washes or whatever for $47. That is a bonkers valuable delivery. 10 appointments. Now, I think that what we see a lot is because we're seeing a lot of people in our client base, and historically how we modeled this for ourselves, is we were trying to create that unicorn, and our clients do this too. The unicorn, the unicorn who can prospect and then sell, which there are people that can do. You and I can do that. We're unusual.
But you can't
in more ways than that.
You can't scale a business like that. Tony Robbins can't be cold calling people. Hey, you want to come to my seminar, right?
Exactly right. It's unscalable, which is the biggest problem with it. But also, it's demoralizing, and then you're trying to force fit people into a role where, and then it is failure rich, because then you're not really you're neither feast nor famine. You're neither fish nor fowl. You don't know what you are in any day, and you don't know what good looks like. Whereas if we really get tight on what is this role's delivery, and here are the tools and here are the templates, and here's how you set up the next step of the system for success, I tell you what, that's a success-filled role, valuable, and here's all your tools. And by the way, great leadership, we're going to practice this every day. We are like the I don't know, give me the name of a high-performing basketball team.
Miami Heat.
There we are. The Heat. Bring the Heat. So
let's go Heat.
We're the Miami Heat. We're practicing every day. I'm sure there was a better example of a successful basketball team from the... What was the one that Michael Jordan was on? The
Lakers?
Who knows? Okay, the Lakers. So Lakers, I imagine they were great because they never stopped practicing. And so there's the real magic then happens at the end when you know what you're doing and you've got your templates and then you're practicing every single day. And this is one of our core values, right? One of our core values is an expectation of achievement. And this is why I think that's tied to that, this idea of practicing every day. Because if you don't think you're going to be successful at something, what's the point in practicing? I mean, there's no point. If you think you're going to fail, then don't practice. Then there's no point in practicing. It's when you think you're going to win. It's when you've got that expectation. That's when you practice. Now, an expectation of achievement. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Also, if you put so much pressure on yourself to win and not fail, I feel like that pressure sucks any fun and lightheartedness out of it, right? If you're putting all that pressure on yourself to not fail and to only win, then I feel like you end up manifesting the opposite of what you want, right? You gotta go into it wanting to win, knowing that part of the winning is the learning and failing and tripping and falling and getting.
It's part of the win. It's part of the win.
Yeah.
Those steps are part of the win. It's not a fail. It's part of the next win. It's not a fail. It's
99 times down, 100 times up.
That's was it Muhammad Ali? I think that was Muhammad Ali.
I think so.
But that's exactly right. It's part of the win. It's not, getting a no is part of the next win. And you made a really good point. The fun. Where's the fun? These are human beings, right? And when you make it, and I think this is another reason why having that templated system with all the tools and all the techniques and built on the foundation of a fabulous attitude and belief set, once you put that in place, then it's the system that's driving everything. And there's the real nirvana. Because as soon as the pressure's on the system, the pressure's off the person. And when there isn't a system well supported, founded on great beliefs, when there isn't that system, then the pressure's held by the person, and that is a dangerous burden to bear. That'll weigh you down. There's no fun in that.
Mm-hmm.
But having the foundation...
If you're using all your brain calories to figure out the system, then it doesn't leave any energy for creativity and being present on those calls. If you've spent the first half of your day figuring out who's the list of people you're going to call and what talk track, if you're rustling around your desk figuring out the talk track, by the time you get to the dials, you're at a deficit.
Yeah, or the emails. And especially when you're doing your
emails.
crafting, and here's the two ends of that spectrum, right? You either craft each email so handcrafted, it's like it should be on Etsy, right? It's so beautiful, so whittled. Well, that takes 20 minutes to turn out. So you're trying to do 100 of them today? Good luck. So I see people trying to handcraft and getting through 5 a day. Or I see the other end of the spectrum, let's push the button on 1,000 and let the computer do it. And the right place is in the middle. The right place in the middle, based on template, obviously based on template, but human-driven, by human hand. It's like those, you ever see those in hotels, you see these hand-painted paintings. And they're not really hand-painted. They kind of are hand-painted, but 90% of the paint on that canvas was put on by a machine. And then there's just the 10% that means that it's now hand-painted. That's now a person that's done it. There's just those few strokes that create the hand-painted. That's the magic, with especially with email or with like one of the... Automated is not cool. I mean, it's cool for marketing. It ain't cool for selling. There's a human that goes for that needs to be involved for selling.
It kind of reminds me of like in a sitcom, the canned laughter, but then they put like that one like ah! in the background to make it feel like real.
It's interesting. I was like binge watching MASH, and there's only me old enough in this conversation to remember MASH. But this was way before your time, Sophia.
I know
but
about
it was
MASH.
interesting that MASH, in early series, there was canned laughter. And in later series, there was no canned laughter. And it was very different. The experience is so much better without that canned laughter. So much better. Yeah, so much more intelligent. You felt like you were engaged, not just part of the machine. When there's canned laughter, you're part of the machine. But when there's no canned laughter, it's you're driving that experience. And I think it's the same in sales when a human being is really reaching out to you.
You can tell when an email is hyper personalized. Now, for the sake of time and energy, not every single touch is going to be super duper hyper personalized.
Yeah, and even a hyper personalized,
but it can still be a damn good email.
And even a hyper personalized one could be 90% templated and 10% hyper personalized. So we're going to put all this in place. Hey, you know what? I recognize that we're kind of at the end of our time here. We've broken our time contracts with our audience. One thing's for sure, and I wanted to get to what's in the toolbox for the outside salespeople. Maybe we'll cover that at a future episode. But for now, out of Miami, I think it's goodbye from Sophia.
And adios from Carlos.
Take care, everyone. Good selling.